On December 15, 1944, during World War II, the iconic musician Glenn Miller disappeared without a trace. What really happened to Glenn Miller on that fateful day? Did his plane crash into the treacherous English Channel, or was he the victim of an even darker fate? Welcome to Flight Plan, your channel for curiosities and mysteries. Today, we are going to explore the enigma surrounding Glenn Miller's disappearance, a mystery that has defied explanations for decades. Get ready for a fascinating journey through the secrets of history. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Alton Glenn Miller, better known as Glenn Miller, was one of the most celebrated musicians of the swing era. Between 1939 and 1942, he was one of the best-selling artists, leading one of the most famous big bands and capturing the hearts of millions with his distinctive sound and charismatic musical leadership. After studying at the University of Colorado in 1920, Glenn Miller became a professional trombonist in Ben Pollock's band. By 1930, he was already a recognized independent musician in New York. Later, Miller stood out as an organizer of swing orchestras, especially in the orchestras of the Dorsey Brothers, started in 1934, and Ray Noble, organized in 1935. In 1937, after an unsuccessful attempt to form his own orchestra, Miller finally achieved success the following year. By the end of 1939, he was already a renowned orchestra leader, known for his distinctive sound and hits like In the Mood and Moonlight Serenade. During World War II, Glenn Miller joined the U.S. Army, receiving the rank of captain and later being promoted to major. He became the director of the United States Army Air Forces Band in Europe, where he used his music to boost the morale of Allied troops, significantly contributing to the war effort. In December 1944, World War II was in a critical phase. The Allied forces, who had landed in Normandy in June of that year, D-Day, were advancing through Western Europe, pushing the German troops back into their territory. The liberation of Paris in August 1944 was a significant milestone, but the war was far from over. During the war, entertainment played a crucial role in maintaining the troops' morale. Artists, musicians and actors were frequently sent to the front lines to perform shows and lift the soldiers' spirits. Glenn Miller, with his popularity and musical talent, was one of the main figures to engage in this mission. He led the United States Army Air Forces Band, performing hundreds of shows and radio broadcasts for the troops in Europe. In December 1944, Glenn Miller was planning a Christmas concert in Paris for the Allied troops. This event was expected to be a significant morale booster for the soldiers facing harsh winter conditions in Europe. Miller was eager to get to Paris to ensure that the preparations for the show were completed. Miller and his colleagues boarded a Norseman C-64, a single-engine light aircraft primarily designed for transporting personnel and cargo. The Norseman was a common choice for short flights, but was not ideal for adverse weather conditions due to the lack of advanced de-icing systems. The weather conditions on the day of the flight were particularly unfavorable. There was dense fog, low visibility, and cold temperatures, all conditions that could lead to ice forming on the plane's wings and fuselage. Ice formation is especially dangerous for light aircraft like the Norseman, as it can compromise aerodynamics and cause loss of control. Despite the adverse weather conditions, it was decided that the flight would proceed. The urgency to get to Paris for the concert preparations, combined with confidence in the experienced pilot John Morgan, led to the decision to take off. In addition to Glenn Miller and the pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Norman Basil was also on board. The flight plan was to take off from RAF Twinwood Farm Airfield near Bedford, England, with a destination of Paris, France. The route included crossing the English Channel, a region known for its volatile weather conditions, especially during the winter. The flight was expected to last about 2 hours. The plane took off around 1:55 p.m. on December 15, 1944. Witnesses at the airfield reported that the takeoff was uneventful, and the plane was last seen disappearing into the fog, heading southeast. There was no emergency communication or calls for help during the flight. The lack of communication indicates that whatever problem occurred was sudden and catastrophic, leaving little or no time for the pilot to respond. When the plane did not arrive in Paris, a search and rescue operation was immediately initiated. However, the search efforts were hampered by poor weather conditions and the vast area of the English Channel. No wreckage or trace of the aircraft was found, and Glenn Miller's disappearance remains a mystery to this day. There are several theories about the disappearance of Glenn Miller's plane. Each tries to explain what might have happened on December 15, 1944. Here are the main theories. 1. Weather-related accident. The most widely accepted theory is that the plane crashed into the English Channel due to bad weather. The weather was severely unfavorable, with dense fog, low visibility, and cold temperatures that could cause ice to form on the plane's wings. Evidence. Adverse weather. Meteorological reports indicate that weather conditions were extremely dangerous for small aircraft flights on that day. Ice formation. The Norseman C-64 aircraft was not equipped with de-icing systems, making it vulnerable to ice formation, which can compromise the plane's stability and aerodynamics. Witnesses. Some witnesses reported seeing the aircraft disappear into the fog shortly after takeoff. 2. Friendly fire. Another theory suggests that Miller's plane might have been accidentally shot down by bombs dropped by British aircraft returning from an aborted mission in Germany. Evidence. Fred Shaw's account. In 1992, Fred Shaw, a RAF veteran, stated that his squadron was ordered to dump bombs into the English Channel after an aborted mission. He reported seeing a small plane crash in the area where they dropped the bombs. Military documents. Some military documents corroborate the practice of dumping bombs in the English Channel by aircraft returning from missions. 3. Mechanical failure. The mechanical failure theory suggests that the plane might have suffered a technical or structural failure leading to the crash. Evidence. Maintenance history. Like many aircraft of the time, the Norseman C-64 could have faced maintenance issues due to intensive use during the war. Reported failures. Historical reports of other Norseman aircraft indicate that ice formation and mechanical problems were not uncommon. 4. Conspiracy and secret mission. Conspiracy theories suggest that Glenn Miller was on a secret mission, and his disappearance was covered up by the government. Some speculate that he might have been captured or assassinated by enemy agents. Evidence. Lack of concrete. Evidence. There is no substantial evidence to support this theory, and it is generally considered unlikely. Enduring mystery. The lack of wreckage or witnesses can fuel conspiracy theories, although they are based more on speculation than verifiable facts. 5. Navigation and human error. Another theory is that navigation errors or wrong decisions by the pilot contributed to the disappearance. Evidence. Manual navigation. At the time, navigation relied heavily on the pilot's skill and visual conditions, which were poor that day. Lack of communication. The absence of a distress call suggests that whatever problem occurred might have been sudden, or the pilot did not realize the severity of the situation until it was too late. 6. Collision with another aircraft. This theory suggests that Miller's plane might have collided with another aircraft in mid-air. Evidence. Intense air traffic. During the war, military air traffic was intense, and communications and coordination were less sophisticated than today. Lack of wreckage. The lack of found wreckage could be consistent with a mid-air collision, where debris would be widely scattered. Although the most widely accepted theory is the weather-related accident, the lack of concrete evidence has left room for various other explanations. Investigations and research continue to this day, but Glenn Miller's disappearance remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of World War II. His musical legacy, however, continues to live on, inspiring generations and keeping his memory alive in history. If you've made it this far, thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.